Tesla CEO Elon Musk saying last night that production is the biggest issue for Tesla right now. This is a good problem to have. He still reiterated his goal of 100,000 vehicles by the end of 2015. Can it overcome its production problems? We bring in our panel. We have Lori Rothman, Bespoke Investment Group's Paul Hickey, and Portfolio Wealth Advisors Lee Munson. And I say, gang, that it's a great problem to have because they can't fill the orders. There's too much demand. They've got to ramp this up, but the stock gave them a big pass on that, up about 4.5%. Lori Rothman, do you love the Tesla story?
It's fascinating. As far as earnings reports go, Liz, this was pretty exciting. Tesla beat the street. And to your point, it's always better to have better demand when you have, a supply issue. But here's what my concern is. Why is Elon Musk, who was very transparent with these production issues, raising incentives? If he's got so much demand for his products, for his cars, why does he have to do that, raise incentives?
Well, Lee Munson, what do you think? I mean, I think that you look at what's happening over at Tesla. They have to expand. They're doing the Gigafactory in Nevada. I've been to their plant in Fremont. It's fascinating. Everything, all the machinery is lipstick red. But they've got a pretty interesting goal in the deliveries. Do you think they can do it?
I'm not sure. I think that, I live in New Mexico, and so we got passed up for that plant, so I'm not a big fan of him. But I will have to say that I'm sharing the same concern. I don't understand why we do incentives if there's so much demand. And so I think that the problem is that we presume that he's telling the truth about production. But if we presume he's telling the truth about production, I mean, what CEO is going to say we have a demand problem? Of course he's going to say production is the issue. So I'm a little bit nervous about how the street just gave them a pass card. I don't understand if you have something that's so high in demand, why you need to discount it. So I think there's something a little bit more to here. I think we just have to remember, we presume that he's telling the truth about the first part, and then we question the last part. I think we should question both parts. This is a guy who really had to hustle to get to basically blackmail or greenmail states to give him a $500 million bucks in incentive to make his factory.
We just had governors from Kansas and from Maryland. Both of them said they would absolutely pay up just to get the jobs. Quick message here. Dow Jones is reporting that Nike has dropped NFL player Adrian Peterson in the wake of all of the drama and the scandal with a lot of these people. But I do want to just quickly ask you, Paul, about Tesla, because the Model X is about to arrive, although it is now delayed. Either way, will it be enough to jazz up enthusiasm even more and demand even more?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you go to buy a Tesla, there's still a very long waiting list, and I don't think people are really valuing this company on their number of deliveries right now. It's really the premise that this company is going to transform the auto industry. So if the revolution, say, gets pushed off a few months, the investors who are long the stock are willing to put up with that. So I think what you got to look here is the demand, I think, is still there, and as evidenced by the long delays. And if it gets pushed out a little bit, the deliveries that investors are going to let it slide.
Well, Lee is upset because he didn't get the Gigafactory plant in New Mexico. Nevada got it. 1,000 jobs. Let's talk about the October jobs report. I want your predictions. It's released tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Eastern. This following yesterday's pretty decent reading on private sector jobs from ADP. And they know they get a good number. They got about 231,000 billed. They do paychecks, so they've got real data here. What are you expecting, Lee Munson?
I'm expecting a surprise to the upside. This is going to be the pet indicator for 2015. Remember, we're 1% away from the Fed's target, and so I think that we could see people sell off in the news if it's too good.
But
just remember,
235, 231, what do you think?
Oh, I think that we should be 5,000 or 10,000 over. I think it's a piece of cake.
Lori?
Can I say we are safely above 200,000 in job creation, or is that too loose of a guesstimate?
It's too loose.
I mean, if I have to narrow it down, I say we'll be in line. No big surprises. I will be watching that participation rate. We want to see the unemployment rate, continue to fall for the right reasons with that
which we haven't
rate
seen.
Improving meaningfully.
Paul, what do you think?
Yeah.
I think you look at all the secondary indicators, the ADP, you have the ISM manufacturing employment component rose in October. You have the ISM non-manufacturing, much bigger part of the economy, rose to its highest level since February 2006. Jobless claims were under 3,000 all month long in October. First time you've had sub 300,000 every week of the month going back to 2005.
And that's a good thing when it comes to
jobs. So I think that's pointing to a strong report and better
strong
than
by
expected.
what? I need a number.
Say above 250.
Above 250. Okay, I think he's among the highest here. Programs hiding malware discovered in the Apple App Store in China. 800 million devices may be at risk. Paul, do you have an iPhone? Are you worried about this?
Yeah, but what are you going to do? You're going to go to a Windows phone or Android? I mean, this goes with the territory of being at the cream of the crop.
Well, they say when you sync your iPhone 6 with your Apple laptop, that may be where the problem is.
Right, but so there's malware. I mean, this is a problem that affects all types of software. So you're going to just stop using the phone. So I think it goes with the territory. It's a very big nuisance for consumers, but it's just part of. Look at Windows in the early part of this decade. Now people are focusing on Apple.
Lee, Apple stock is hovering around all-time highs. Does this hurt it at all?
I don't think so. Remember, cyber war, especially from China, is the thing that's going to spark innovation and capitalism. So when we have these things crop up, this is going to allow Silicon Valley to produce more things that will increase shareholder value. But remember, that uncertainty that we have keeps valuations low, and it's good for investors. And people should out there,
cybersecurity, maybe
clients'
security
portfolios.
firms. You buy that instead of Apple, right, Lori?
Well,
That's a great point. And I'm just shaking my head because I think we're just all victims of hackers. We're going to be. The odds are this is the sign of the times. Not to be such a Debbie Downer here, but you just have to be vigilant about maintaining your password security and looking at all of your statements, your credit cards, your ATM statements, your credit reports, and all of this stuff. Because if Apple's getting attacked, we've seen it on the retailer level as well. It's just a sign of the times. It's just where we're at.
Don't use your kids' names or their
Liz,
birthdays.
people should ask their advisor. They should ask their advisor if their portfolios are 100% protected against cyber fraud. Ours are a lot, but it's something that you should really ask your broker, your advisor.
Absolutely.
Am I protected?
And are your credit cards protected when you go into retail stores? As we head into the holiday season, retailers are ramping up holiday hiring. Will they ramp up their stocks by ramping up the hiring? And will your next Amazon package, how about this, come via not drone, but taxi? David.
As long as I don't have to pay for it. Well, talk is great, but what can really get done after the Republican sweeps this week? Who better to ask than Bob Hormats? He's former Goldman Sachs vice chairman, and he worked in the Obama administration. He's straight ahead. I'll be talking to him. And Starbucks CEO gives a straight-up reaction to the election results. Plus, neither rain nor sleet can keep the U.S. Postal Service away. Now, you can add Sunday to that list. And we want to hear from you. Give us your predictions for tomorrow's jobs report. The estimate is 231,000 for non-farm jobs. We'll announce the winner tomorrow, right here on the show.
Park it like it's hot. Park it like it's hot. Park it like it's hot. And if a get an attitude, pop it like it's hot. Pop it like it's hot.
We've got a little breaking news that might affect Bank of America stock. It had to adjust its third quarter 2014 financial results as a result of a lot of payments to lawyers for stuff that happened overseas. You might remember that happened to Citi last week. Meanwhile, Thanksgiving is just 3 weeks away, and retailers are stumbling over each other to announce just how early they're going to be opening on the holiday this year. Just this morning, JCPenney announcing it will be opening at 5 p.m. That's 3 hours earlier than it opened last year. Macy's, Kohl's, and Sears have all announced they will be open at 6 p.m. on Thanksgiving Day. 2 hours earlier for Macy's and Kohl's than last year. But one retailer takes the cake, Kmart, opening at 6 a.m. on Thanksgiving morning. Let's hope they have turkey for their employees. They started doing this in 2010, and they plan to stay open for 42 hours straight. There are some 24 retailers that will not be open on Thanksgiving, including PC Richard, Costco, Home Depot, Nordstrom, GameStop, and Petco. Liz?
And speaking of retailers, they seem optimistic about the holidays. And how do we know that? Well, they're ramping up hiring, in some cases huge, in a big way. Is it time to buy some retail names ahead of the shopping frenzy? We're back with our panel, Lori Rothman, Paul Hickey, Lee Munson. Paul, I begin with you. Will consumers... They must be anticipating consumers will spend more this holiday season because they're ramping up, in certain cases, up to 100,000 employees more than what they have.
Well, yeah, you have the jobs picture improving. You have gas prices down. That should point to better spending on the part of the consumer. In our surveys of consumers, we have a Consumer Pulse survey where we track where consumers are spending their money, and they're spending less at apparel and clothing, and they're spending more on electronics and health and beauty.
Wasn't that interesting? Because Macy's is the company that takes the top of the list when they talk about holiday hiring, Lori.
Absolutely, and it's no surprise. It's such a tight tightly competitive retail market right now among the retailers, but also among the workers. The jobs market is improving, but we know a big problem. We mentioned this earlier in the discussion, wage growth. It's been flat, and most researchers, most economists aren't expecting holiday workers, seasonal workers to really get more than $10 an hour.
You get more money in your pocket because gasoline is less. Maybe they got a $720 raise per family. Lee Munson, UPS is not a retailer, but they're going to hire 95,000 workers to ship all the stuff from those retailers that we just put up on the screen.
Well, I love it because, number one, I don't think we're going to have wage inflation, so it's really going to help those companies' bottom line when they show the extra people on their balance sheet. But here's the other thing. Does anybody even remember the correction from October? I think when most of our clients and investors get their monthly statements, they're going to realize, why you buy low and sell high when there's Ebola-stained blood sheets on the street. We're at an all-time high, and it was a full correction that completely corrected itself inside of a 30-day window. So I think people are going to feel richer. They're going to want to go out and buy things. And the best part is the corporations are going to have fat profits because they didn't have to pay that next marginal worker an extra buck an hour.
Yeah, you know what?
But
no
people
wage
aren't getting
inflation.
paid anymore. I mean, the gas price decline is obviously helpful, but it was interesting. Look at the Republican sweep the platform held about minimum wage.
Okay, let's move on to another retailer, and that's Amazon testing taxi delivery in certain cities. Good idea or PR stunt? Let me go to Lee first. Listen, when you leave something in a taxi, you never get it back. I don't know why anybody would put something in a taxi and say, here, take this brand new piece of equipment to me.
Well, I just called Uber to get me a 6-pack of beer, but it's going to cost me $140. This is publicity over profitability. Now, on demand is a trend, everything from streaming TV to Amazon Prime. But I think that you have to look at, is this going to actually be a profit for Amazon? I think that when we look at stocks and we're screening for this stuff, it's wonderful they're making this publicity stunt, but I want to invest in companies that are maybe the second or third generation of this and are actually making a great profit.
Paul, clearly they want to make sure that people get what they order so that there isn't that negative backlash of, oh, it didn't arrive by Christmas, and maybe bringing in some help with taxi service might do the trick.
I don't know. I think I'd agree with Lee. It's a big PR stunt, but I think we're looking at a real big synergy here, drone taxis. I mean, that's the wave of the future.
I want taco drones. I'm still waiting for that. Great to have all of you. Lori Rothman, Paul Hickey, and Lee Munson. David?
All right. GOP leaders laying out a pretty clear agenda today for the new Congress, everything from education to tax reform to the budget. Bob Hormats, Kissinger Associates Vice Chairman and former Goldman Sachs Vice Chairman and former member of the Obama administration, here to tell us whether he thinks the president and the new Congress can make any deals on any of this. Also, what's with all those rumors about an AOL-Yahoo merger? Will it happen? We asked Tim Armstrong, the chairman and CEO of AOL. You have to hear what he had to say coming up.
Feeling good about Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, or Amgen? They're all components of XLV, the healthcare sector SPDR ETF, which includes over 50 healthcare and biotech stocks in the S&P 500 to help add diversification and minimize single stock risk. Why invest in a single healthcare stock when you can own the entire healthcare sector of the S&P 500? Before investing, consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses. Go to sectorspiders.com for a prospectus containing this information. Read it carefully. Visit us on the web at sectorspiders.com.
When you're ready for reading glasses, you're usually the last to know.
Try these. Okay. They're Foster Grants.
Foster Grant, prescription quality readers without the prescription price.
All right, give them back.
At CVS Health, we took a deep breath and made the decision to quit selling cigarettes in our CVS pharmacies. Now we invite smokers to quit too with our comprehensive program. We just want to help everyone, everywhere, breathe a little easier. Introducing CVS Health, because health is everything.
The war. You got a demon in you.
If we don't fight for the city, who will? I'm not gonna stop.
Has just begun.
Alfred, can you teach me how to fight?
Yes, I can. Gotham, all new next week on Fox.
In your home in HD and now available on SiriusXM on channel 113, the Fox Business Network.